Hey, it's day 185 of Hey, what are you doing today? I've got kind of a jumbled mush of thought in my brain right now of things that I want to talk about, but I kind of want to continue on with a little bit about where I left off yesterday. Yesterday I was so in touch with this feeling, this energy, and I didn't have a word for it. I'd actually mentioned in the video yesterday that I felt like I was being visited by spirits bringing me information in some way, shape, or form. Not to sound too crazy, but people that have come before me and passed on. Their information was being brought to me, and that in a way kind of felt like, spirits coming to me. The spirit of the spirit of their information was coming to me. So, but but that also spawned off into other people and other things that came to me. But I was so centered in this feeling yesterday, and I didn't have a word for it. But what was interesting is right after I made the video, I stopped and talked to somebody, and I talked to them a little bit about what was going on with me on a personal and spiritual level, and they mentioned a couple other names, and they gave me three other names, and one of the people. They were, to me they were all obscure because I don't study much theology, but two of them were German Christian theologians from right around the I guess during World War II, and then on from there in that era. And then the other one was Chinese theologian, however, Christian theologian. This gentleman came from a Christian background, so that's what he offered me. uh, and it was so interesting just that these people came to me and they were so obscure, to me anyway. I don't know how obscure they are in the world of theology or the world of Christianity, um, but I had a sense that there was an obscurity to them. And the so I went in and started listening to one of the people's information. That's Watchman Nee, that was given to me. And Watchman Nee, yesterday was the first time I've ever been introduced to his information, and he broke something down very simply that I've never heard broken down before. Um, and it was so simple and so clean the way that he put it. It made great sense to me, especially in that moment at that time. But that's, as human beings, his theological theory is that we're made up of three components: the mind, everything that's mental; our body, everything that's physical; and then something that he referred to as the Holy Spirit. And that's just the Christ energy, I guess, would be, and using words that are along the lines of Christian. But that same thing, that Holy Spirit, that energy of Christ, is the same thing that's spoken about in Taoism. It's the same thing that's spoken about as far as when I mentioned the ether, or asking the ether. That's exactly what I'm talking about, and it all comes back to this one feeling that I was so in tune and so in touch with, and it was so powerful yesterday. So I mean, if I had to give it a name, yesterday it felt like the Holy Spirit. That's what it was. I mean, it was just like it was there. It was alive. There was this energy that I've never been as close to in my life as I was yesterday. And peculiar beyond that, the next person that I spoke with happened to be a gentleman that was doing missionary work in Africa, in the region of the Sudan. And as I was talking with him, he knew immediately who I was talking about when I said Watchman Nee. I mean, what are the odds that I run into somebody that knows who Watchman Nee is or what his story is? And again, I don't know too much about his story. Just a little bit that I picked up yesterday. The other guy that we spoke about was Karl Barth, Krlbarth, Karl Barth, German theologian, and Dietrich Bonhoeffer. So I again want to revisit these people and their theories. The little bit that I know about Dietrich Bonhoeffer is that he was against, during Hitler's reign, he said that he wouldn't worship a man, and he kind of stood against that. And I believe Hitler put him to death personally. I think one of the stories was he had an assassination attempt on Hitler that failed, so Hitler took it personally and held it over his head, and I believe Hitler had him assassinated, but I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that. But three interesting people that came to me among the original three that I had talked about yesterday. And then in the reality of my life, this guy. But everything that came from that good feeling, everything that came from that powerful sense of closeness to that energy that can't be named, so to say. Again, I call it the ether. I've heard some people call it the vortex. But that energy, that ether, one thing that brought me, well, the things that brought me so close to that were what I was doing on a, on a, almost like a mental and physical level, just a cleansing that was going on. And I fell away from that today. I'm away from it right now, and I miss it. I want it back so bad. I want to get that energy back. But what brought on those feelings were some of the things that my intentions are to practice. I'm attempting to practice, and I took a couple steps back today with some of my actions, some of my thoughts, but some very basic things, some very basic concepts. For me, it's to be willing to let anything happen. Just be completely open, be completely accepting. Whatever happens for a reason. Try to find the benefit in it, try to find the good in it, but be prepared for anything to happen, be open and be willing for anything to happen, and be above it, be outside of it, be just feel that for me to feel that sense of higher power, that no matter what happens, no matter how dramatic it is, no matter how negative or whatever the case might be, or how out of control. That's my thing. I like to feel like I have some kind of control. When things get out of control, that's when I tend to react instead of act, which is another component of it. But I'll stick with where I was. Be willing to let anything happen. Don't have any anger. Don't have any retaliation. Don't have any judgments. Don't be critical of people. When I see a person, my intentions are, and this is something that I'm struggling with. I don't want to make it sound easy. My intentions are to see the inherent value in them, to welcome them, to love them, to recognize that they're on a struggle just as I'm on a struggle, and see that as the value, and try to help them, and in turn try to get help from them. Just that symbiotic relationship, but not to judge anybody for any reason. Not to see. I know nobody's story on a personal level. I really shouldn't judge, but. So being willing to have anything happen, trying to go without any kind of judgment, no anger, no retaliation, don't react, instead act, be in control of myself. Once I get into a reactionary mode, I know that I'm no longer in control, and the situation's in control, and that's when ugly things happen. So you need to stay centered, calm, and act. There's some other elements that I'm forgetting here, but those are the basic ones, and concentrating on that, and being outside of everything, being above everything, and being almost an observer in life. All of a sudden, that opened up this sense of freedom, this sense of energy, healing, power, whatever it is, and it was so beautiful. I came in today. And I had kind of a mixed up day, and I got into that reactionary mode, and that reactionary mode has brought me down, brought me away from that feeling. I want that feeling back, but it was I could all of a sudden feel that energy, that system, that vibration, that I could carry as a human being, that could give me everything that I need, everything that I desire, and everything that could be right. I was this close to it yesterday, and I'm going to work on getting it back. I recognize what takes me away from it. I recognize what brings me to it. So I've learned that I've got to kind of stay on that path, and I gotta kind of do that. But the other thing that's kind of interesting was, that energy, obviously, well, I can't say obviously, but that energy seemed to have brought that other person to me that had the information. And on top of that, the next thing that was interesting was a Ferrari showed up, and I got to drive it. So that's kind of cool. I mean, I've thought about Ferraris all my life since I was a kid, and not so much the glamour or showing off kind of side of things, but I guess when I was a kid it was, but now it's more the history, the racing history, the perfection of the handmade, and Pininfarina, and all the details that go into it, the elegance, the raw power, the gorgeousness of it, and all of a sudden there I was in a Ferrari, driving a Ferrari. So I want that feeling back. That's day 185. Hey, what are you doing today? Thanks.